So what we have here is a 1964 General Electric Show and Tell. It is a children's record player and film strip viewer. It comes with these media files. He's got a record and a film strip in each one on a certain topic. I got a whole stack of them here, and you see the record there plays at 33 1/3, and the film strip is contained in, you can see that it's contained in this strip in this slot. Now right now this thing doesn't do anything at all. It's completely dead, so I'm going to try to fix it up. We'll see, get it opened up first and see what's going on in there. Alright, it's not exactly apparent to me how to take this thing apart, but once you do take this screw out, you can access the projector light source. There's the light bulb in here, a couple of extremely crude magnifiers, and there's a little thing that drives the film strip, and then got a little focus here. Okay, so that's the first thing I was able to figure out about this thing. Now let's get this further disassembled and check out some of the electrical continuity. These lenses just sit in here, and I cleaned them up. They were really dusty. I don't know how much difference that's going to make. And check the bulb, and it's good. The bulb is actually not burned out. The 28 volt GE bulb. There's two screws here, so you can set the adjustment of the bulb right in the middle of that first lens, so you get the light shining directly in the right place. Alright, I took the turntable platter off by just taking out the snap ring, and this is the mechanism. It's a typical 4-speed mechanism you find on record players of that era. No changer, so it's a lot simpler than most of the record changers you come across. It looks like it's all good. That the idler wheel is still pliable and doesn't have any dents in it, so I won't be replacing that. It's dirty in there, probably need a little lube, but I do not know why the motor does not turn freely, so I'll probably have to lubricate that up, but it's not even trying to work, so still have to figure out how to get inside this thing. So that's all it took. There were 4 screws, but there were 5 holes but 4 screws, so one of them didn't actually have a screw to loosen. It was in this position. I don't know if it was supposed to originally or not, but anyway, once you do that, then it pulls right off. You do not have to take off the screws at the bottom that are on the outside here. And now it's all exposed. Really only the speaker comes with it electrically in the bottom, and everything else is enclosed in the top. You can get all these wires, little fan to cool off the light bulb. You can see the belt drive that indexes the film strip, and it goes around, that white thing goes around and clicks that wheel once every so many rotations. And there's a mirror here that I am going to clean up. It's very foggy and dirty. Hopefully that'll improve the picture. And then I'll take off the motor, get that thing working again, and that's really all there is to it, I think. Everything else is mechanical, and I already know that the light bulb's good, so once the motor runs, I think everything will turn around now. I don't know if the amplifier is still good, but it's all solid state, so it probably doesn't have much to go bad on it. We'll find out. Alright, so I discovered that the front of it is held on with two screws that are kind of hidden up here in this this little recess in the top of the screen plastic, and the amplifier is located up in there, so I'm going to take the screen off and get to that thing. It's got a couple of filter capacitors, and we'll see if those are still good. The motor is definitely got some problems, so I'm going to be freeing that up. The spindle doesn't move at all, and the motor is hard to turn. It's connected to this fan. That's what cools the whole thing down. And alright, we'll get those things straightened away and be right back. Okay, I've returned the motor mechanism into full functionality. I got the motor completely freed up, put a lot of oil in the both ends and the felt bearings there so that that'll stay lubed up. I cleaned the spindle, the 4-speed selector spindle, with alcohol, so it's nice and it got all the grease off of it. This idler wheel was all bound up with lint, and so I removed it. It's a tiny little snap ring on the end of it, and you got to take that off and not lose it. That's the biggest trick. And then I cleaned the shaft and cleaned the inside of the hub and took all that lint off of it that had accumulated. I put phono lube on the selector mechanism, so that's very smooth now. The biggest thing was getting this this spindle to turn freely, which it does now very freely. It was completely seized up, and I had to try just about every trick in the book to get it to go. What finally did it was I used PB Blaster, and that got it to where I could move it a little bit, and just wiggling it back and forth for a while, and it finally freed up. Got a bunch of oil in there, and now it's turning perfectly smoothly. And what's important about that is not just that the platter turns freely, but down here it drives the belt that indexes the film strip. So this little assembly is done, and now we're going to turn our attention to cleaning up all this other stuff. You can see the mirror, how filthy that is. I'm going to clean up all these reflecting surfaces. There's another one over here, another small mirror that reflects onto that bigger mirror after the light goes through the film strip. So we're going to clean all that up, and we're going to check out electronically, check out the amplifier. This is it. A simple circuit. For this thing to be completely dead like it was, it makes me think maybe just the switch was gone, or the rectifier diode. I'm not sure what has made this thing so dead, but I'll be checking that out next. Okay, I put the motor assembly back in to the unit, starting the reassembly process to get it into everything together except for the front, so I can see it in action, test it out. Cleaned up the mirrors. You can see the amazing difference that makes. This one and the one right there. Now the belt is permanently deformed from sitting in one place, but I think it's going to be okay. What I've done is I've stuck a film strip in. You push it in all the way down, Now I'll just turn the turntable by hand in the correct direction, and let's see if the film strip indexes. Yeah, so far so good. Okay, I've got it semi put back together just so I have a kind of working configuration. You can do any further troubleshooting. I got the on-off switch was not working as an on-off switch, and then it started to work again, so it might be a little bit squirrely, but otherwise it seemed to go again. Now that I have it on, I'll just turn it on. So you got
big marks for big sound waves.
Not real happy with that indexing. I have to work on that.
Pass right through clouds.
Let's see if we can see the
This dark cloud of dust and gas far out in space is called a nebula. Radio waves pass right through such clouds.
Well, this is all very
So radio
promising. I'm going to
telescopes may
continue
tell us what's behind
working on that indexer and see what happens.
Here.
Alright, I determined that this the wheel here that's driven by the belt that does the indexing on that little escapement, I had to take it out, and I'm going to do a whole, see, it's got this very old grease on the edge here. That there's a spring over here that that rides on that ramp. It puts a little energy in there for indexing the next slide. And that's covered with dried up grease. This is covered with dried up grease. So I'm going to just disassemble that, take all that old grease off, replace it with phono lube grease, and I think that thing will be fine. Alright, I got it back together. I've got it lubed and got all the old grease off of it. It was really pretty sticky when you come right down to it, so it's operating very freely now. And I hope that's going to be good enough for that belt. And I guess we'll see soon enough. Alright, I've got it back together, ready for the final run through. I put a new needle on it. I actually happened to completely luck out and just have a brand new needle for it. The old one was kind of bent over, but it was still working, obviously. And I'll just place that there. I've left this cover off here because I'll show you how to adjust the light. That made a big difference. And just for now, just leave the front of it off, but I can turn it on.
The earliest men watched the skies and wondered about what they saw there.
And
as they looked up from their hunting and their campfires, they must have noticed how the sun and the stars rose in the east and swept slowly and majestically across the great dome of the sky to sink below the western horizon. Men who lived in the northern hemisphere must have observed that the sun appeared to move south in winter and north in summer. This motion was especially important. The earth seemed small and flat to them. It appeared to be the motionless center of the universe. The sun, moon, planets, and stars seemed near. They appeared to move from east to west over the stationary
that's not quite
earth.
right.
People often thought the night sky was a great dark roof over the world, and that the stars were holes in the roof through which light leaked from some great blazing light beyond. The science of astronomy
It is indexing now, but it gets stuck every once in a while, so I am going to have to replace that belt. I don't think there's any way around that. Yeah, it stopped indexing. It always gets caught at the place where there's that bubble on the belt. So new belt, and this will be all done. It really actually works pretty well. The sound is good, and speed, everything about it is good except for that belt. Alright, and that concludes the repair on the GE Show and Tell from 1964.